It's something we all think about. How do we keep our minds sharp as we get older? We all want that, right? Well, it turns out one of the most powerful tools we have might just be what's on our dinner plate. So today, we're diving into a diet that was designed specifically for our brains.
This is the big question, isn't it? We all want to live long, vibrant lives, and a huge piece of that puzzle is having a healthy brain to go along for the ride. So let's get into it and see what the science tells us about this incredible link between our food and our cognitive future.
Okay, so to really get why this conversation is so important, you just have to look at this number. Dementia is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States. I mean, just let that sink in. It's a staggering reality, and it's exactly why researchers are working so hard to find ways to protect our brains.
But okay, let's not get bogged down in the scary stats, because this is really a story about solutions. And a huge part of that story revolves around one very specific way of eating that's gotten a ton of buzz: the MIND diet.
So what is the MIND diet? Well, MIND is actually an acronym. It stands for Mediterranean-Intervention for Neurodegenerative Delay. Yeah, it's a mouthful, I know. But that long name tells you basically everything you need to know. It's a hybrid diet, one that was engineered by taking the absolute best parts of 2 other very famous, very successful diets. So think of it this way. Back in 2015, researchers at Rush University and Harvard were looking at the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet. You've heard of them, right? They're both rock stars in the health world. And these researchers asked a really smart question. What if we took what works from both and fine-tuned it specifically for brain health? And that's exactly what they did. They created a diet with one laser-focused goal: fighting neurodegeneration. So this isn't some fad. It's built on a foundation of really solid science. All right, so what does this actually look like on your plate? Well, here are the 10 so-called brain-healthy food groups. The first thing that jumps out at me is the heavy emphasis on plants. We're not just talking about a side salad here and there. We're talking at least 6 servings of leafy greens like spinach or kale every single week, berries, nuts, and using olive oil as your main cooking oil. These are the cornerstones. See, this isn't about depriving yourself. It's about loading up on these nutrient-packed foods that your brain absolutely loves. And, it's not just about what you pile on your plate. What you choose to limit is just as important. The MIND diet specifically calls out these 5 groups. We're talking about things high in saturated and trans fats. Now look, this isn't about saying you can never have cheese or a pastry again. It's about being really mindful and cutting way back. It's about shifting your overall pattern, not about being perfect.
Okay, so the diet sounds fantastic on paper. It really does. But the million-dollar question is always, does it actually work? Let's dig into the science, because this is where the story gets really interesting. When the first results from the Rush Memory and Aging Project started coming out, honestly, they were a total game changer. This quote pretty much says it all. The researchers found a super clear link. The more closely people followed the MIND diet, the slower their brains aged. For everyone in the field, this was just huge.
And get a load of this number. 53%. People who stuck to the diet most strictly had up to a 53% lower risk of developing Alzheimer's. I mean, wow. And even people who only followed it moderately still saw a big benefit. So you can see why this diet just exploded in popularity.
But here's the thing about science. It never just stands still. Those incredible early findings came from observational studies. Those are great for finding connections, these correlations, but they can't prove that one thing causes another. So, to get a real, definitive answer, scientists needed to run a different kind of test. And this is where the plot thickens. In 2023, a big, randomized controlled trial, that's kind of the gold standard in research, was published. And the results, well, they were different. As you can see, over a 3-year period, the MIND diet didn't really slow cognitive decline any better than a standard healthy calorie-cutting diet.
So, hold on. Does that mean the MIND diet is a bust? Well, it's not that simple. Not at all. Experts have pointed out a few really important things. For starters, the control group in that newer study, they also started eating much healthier, and they lost weight. So that might have kind of leveled the playing field, And maybe the biggest factor, 3 years is a pretty short window when you're talking about something like cognitive decline, which can develop over decades.
And all of this really brings us to a much bigger, more important point. All the twists and turns in the MIND diet research suggest that maybe we should stop looking for one single magic diet
and start thinking about building a more complete, a more holistic toolkit for healthy aging.
I think this quote from the National Institute on Aging just nails it. It's the perfect guiding principle for that toolkit. It's not about eating less, it's about eating smarter. As we age, our bodies might not need as many calories, but our need for high-quality vitamins and minerals, that actually goes up. It means every single bite really, really counts.
And this toolkit isn't just about protecting our brains. To fight off that natural muscle loss that happens as we get older, it's called sarcopenia, we need another critical tool, protein. A lot of the standard recommendations just aren't enough for older adults. The research is pretty clear that we need significantly more to keep our strength and our balance.
And we can get even more targeted with our tools. Here's a perfect example: eye health. For people at risk of age-related macular degeneration, there's a specific supplement formula called AREDS2 that's been proven in huge studies to help slow it down. This is a classic case of using specific, science-backed tools to tackle specific risks.
So let's put it all together. What's in this healthy aging toolkit? Well, number one, it starts with a focus on those nutrient-dense foods, the kinds you see in the MIND diet. Number two, making sure you get enough protein to support your muscles. 3, talking to your doctor about targeted evidence-based supplements for any specific risks you might have. And of course, the foundation for all of this is number 4, staying physically active.
At the end of the day, building a healthy future is a deeply personal project. The science gives us this amazing roadmap, but we're the ones who have to do the driving. So the real question isn't just about what the studies say. It's about what small, sustainable change you can add to your own toolkit starting today.